Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks. That's real nice. Does this work? Does this sound?
We.
It doesn't sound like much.
I know it doesn't sound like much because we're like.
Where are my cans?
No.
I don't get cans.
No cans for you
God
here.
Damn.
This. No, you don't work with cans on your
they
show.
don't know what cans mean.
No, of course.
Can you
Well,
explain to the folks.
You would call them headphones, but in the 1950s radio, we called them cans. Norm Macdonald has a show that premieres on Netflix Friday, September 14th. And I know you're out doing some publicity. Were you able to get any? Was anybody paying attention to what's going on here?
Run.
Well, isn't it always funny when whoever it is ends up in the barrel for a little while? I mean, when it's not you, it's always really, really interesting
Yes,
that
right.
suddenly the press is paying attention to you, you know?
You mean that's a good thing?
Yes. Well, I wonder, do you view it as a good thing? Or
No. I've never believed that all press is good press thing because of Hitler. I feel it hurt his career.
You know what the thing is, like with everybody, it worked for a while. You know what I mean?
Right,
for a while, like people are like, hey, I'm hearing a lot about you, Hitler.
Yeah.
And then it turns bad. You know?
Yeah.
But it always does turn bad at some point, no matter who the person is. Everybody has to be that guy for a while.
I suppose. Well, you're saying I'm that guy?
You're that guy for at least a couple days and it'll go away.
Yeah.
But you have to today with social media be in lockstep with the mob. That's the thing. You know?
You're saying that's a good thing.
No, it's the only way to survive. We're we're antelopes in the jungle and you just want to move, find out where the lion is, and then move in the other direction.
Well, what do you feel, Ron? The conventional wisdom always used to be, if you do something wrong, then you apologize, you show contrition, and the public forgives you. Now that's out the window.
Right.
And now Trump said it to his friend apparently the other day. Deny, deny, deny. So the people who've done bad things just deny it. And that's their own, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? By the way, I never did anything bad.
That's the perfect angle to have.
Yeah.
And I'm as outraged as everyone else, and let's keep moving along.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's
Of
really
course
funny
I'm outraged.
funny about this? I've seen a couple episodes. They sent me a couple episodes of your show. It's the exact opposite of controversial.
Yeah,
it's a really funny, sweet show. You're on there. I watched the Jane Fonda one. Probably the most controversial person of our lifetime.
Sure.
And yet it was just a fun, sweet half hour.
Yeah. I'm not interested in that. Yeah, that's the funny thing is that I have no interest in politics or, I'm just a clown. You know what I'm saying? And what I think happened was, Jon Stewart, who was a great friend of mine and still is, wonderful comedian, fantastic comedian, and became a political figure of not inconsiderable weight in this country, for the good, I think, But he was a very peculiar, he had massive intellect, strong viewpoint, well-informed, and funny. Hard to find those, And he had a fantastic show. But what he spawned, sometimes original geniuses spawn a bunch of fucking shit.
Right.
And so suddenly every talk show had to be, every talk show host had to be a political pundit, And the last time I did the Jimmy Fallon show, Donald Trump was the host, and I was a guest rather, and Jimmy mussed up his hair, Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
And I remember we were watching from backstage, and we're like, oh, didn't think of anything of it. And then it was a big thing. How dare Jimmy Fallon muss up, as if Jimmy Fallon is Tim Russert. Or,
right. Yeah.
It's not a timely reference
right.
since he died 15 years ago. But he's no Douglas Edwards. So I said, well, that's Jimmy. It's absurd, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, and I didn't watch Johnny Carson. I was too young. But I don't think Johnny Carson addressed Vietnam or Watergate, you know? Things way bigger than nowadays. But that's the way comedy has turned. So, and it's fine, you know? But I'm no good at it because I don't know anything about politics. And so, yeah, it is a little ironic. I don't like using the word ironic because it turns out I always use it wrong.
Sure, yeah.
But you know, we you know, Ted Sarandis, who's the head of the Netflix, and became a friend of mine in the unlikeliest of ways. But I talked to him all the time about the show. And I said, Ted, I want to give you a show that people can watch 10 years from now. You know, I really, and I do that with my specials also. You know, I don't do very many specials, but I want them to be about themes that will live on. And you know, I don't want to make fucking Murphy Brown. And, you know, because those Dan Quayle jokes.
Yeah.
Not so funny.
Although she's back now.
She's back now, yes. And I think it'll work because now sitcoms have turned into this. You know, when I was a kid, a sitcom would have once in a while a very special episode of Family Ties. And everybody make jokes about it. And now a sitcom, every motherfucking episode is special.
Yeah, Anybody could die at any time if you're on TV. No one is spending their money if they're on a TV show.
That's like Lenny Clark, I remember.
Yeah.
He got the show Lenny.
Yeah.
Funniest motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know Lenny. And we were at the Montreal Comedy Festival. I met him. And everybody had their 5 minutes of going up on stage, trying to get the perfect 5 minutes. And meanwhile, none of the agents or managers were there. They were all at strip clubs. And so then at night, everybody's there at the Delta Hotel. And Lenny Clark would just be running around the room, you know, grabbing the telephone, going, "Hey, it's the president of show business. He wants to talk to you over here." And then he got the show.
Yeah.
But his agent told him about a giant house, you know, because so he bought a big fucking giant house, and he told me he paid two what do you call it, mortgage?
Yeah.
So well, I'm doing. He paid 2 months of his mortgage, and then he had to sell his house.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, Lenny Clark. Goddamn. I just seen him. You seen him? You know?
No, I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, he's one of the best of them.
He was like, one of the best, just naturally funny guys, right? But I saw him, he was dressed real nice. I said, "God damn, you look good. You lost weight and shit." He goes, "I married rich."
Norm Macdonald.
I like you, by the way, a lot, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Your show. I've always been a fan.
Norm Macdonald has
I don't know if you
a
remember
show.
meeting me or not, but go ahead.
No, I don't remember meeting you.
Okay.
Where?
It was at the Boston Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the New York Catch a Rising Star. My apologies. But go back to your paper.
No. I just, suddenly, is everybody impressed that I don't remember meeting Norm? They're like, hey.
By the way, this is his paper.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. The same guy who set up the sound for this room gave me this paper. I'm going to bring this up, though, because, you know, now we're ball busting a little bit. Yeah. When you had Jane Fonda on and you have your little blue cards, you had a little shake going. You were a little nervous.
I get nervous as a
motherfucker. Do you really?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I was really, really surprised to see that. Yeah. So you're a giant fan of hers.
Yeah. You know how it is like anybody that was a celebrity before I got in show business.
Exactly right.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then anybody since, they could be the biggest star in the world. I go, what the fuck do I care?
That is 100% true. I've had that experience so many times here. But
I talked to OJ one time. He's like, and he said, you know, they're still the haters.
Yeah.
But he said 99% of people love the juice.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's not lying.
Yeah.
He's not lying. Because, you know, you think if you saw the juice, maybe you think, I know I wouldn't, that you go up to him, yeah, you murderer, people don't do that.
No.
You know, that takes a special type of person. What you do is like, selfie!
Yeah.
So in his head, he thinks everybody likes him.
Yeah. Well, I was, you know, obviously when he played football, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I didn't follow much after that.
Oh, you
so,
did?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with the
So
news.
when you're asked, you say the only thing he's guilty of is being the best running back in the history of the NFL, as far as I know.
Adam is here with you today.
Adam Egan, my trusty sidekick.
He is your sidekick, and Adam, here's Mike. Your part of the desk is just a little lower than everyone else's.
Oh, sorry. That was a very nice touch. Yeah, the kids' table.
Yeah.
You give him a smaller.
So how have you felt about the last week of publicity? You were inside and outside at the same time.
Oh, you mean the last day of publicity?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that Norm, Norm just did Stern, and I think he said everything he needed to say, and that he truly believes and feels, and all the people that are close to him know, you know, that he just doesn't have the capacity to feel certain ways that I'm hearing conveyed on Twitter and some other places, and I think that Norm really did a great job. You did a great job clearing the air today.
I never got into comedy to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes people go at a show, they'll go, please attack my brother, make him feel like a piece of shit, you know, because it's his wedding day.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't really like to do that. And then one time I did this roast
Sagan.
of Bob Saget, and it became a sort of a thing because I didn't do roast jokes because I don't like insulting people, you know, and I certainly never got into show businesses to ever hurt anybody, and it just made me really, really sad when this thing happened, where you just ask question after question after question, and then I guess I slipped up and maybe said something that people took wrong, but you know, I apologized to them, and you know, it's the last reason I want to be on this earth.
Sure. And, you know, this kind of backlash happens so fast now because of social media. And, you know, Adam, I know you've been involved with the Comedy Store for a long time, but when Louis jumped up at the Comedy Cellar the other night, a couple weeks ago, the Cellar's taken a lot of heat from people who are not necessarily customers,
right?
You know, people,
yeah,
on the other side of the country or whatever. And we didn't, we never had that kind of thing happen before.
No,
well, I'll tell you this, and I did not know this, and maybe you do. Comedians have gone up against Louis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was talking to some
comedians have said this guy should not be able to ever perform again.
Yeah, I mean, they all come.
You know, if you're a murderer, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if you're a murderer, you go to jail, and they let you off, 20 years later, and you try to get a job as a busboy. And if the guy says, "I'm not hiring that guy, he murdered," and you go, but he did his penance, and now you give him a job. That's the humane thing to do. And people go, well, what about the murdered person? And you go, well, of course, he got worse.
Yeah.
The guy that lost his life, he's doing worse. But it doesn't mean you can't forgive, or it's impossible to forgive. I also don't feel anyone owes me an apology in public. I think personally that you owe an apology to anybody that you did ill to, you owe an apology to people that your actions hurt in a financial way or an emotional way. But nobody owes me an apology, you know.
So that's where your shock about comedians comes from.
Yeah, because I don't understand why they're so, you know. I guess I just don't understand how there can be no rules, you know. If the rules are drawn out and set down, then that's one thing. But, you know, I always thought the audience would decide whether you're an objectionable comic or even a good comic, you know. And so Louis went up here at the Comedy Cellar, and the audience let him know. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But if the audience don't like him, then the club won't book him. I mean, that's how things work. And, you know, just because your heart can break for more than one person at the same time, you know, and a person can do a bad thing and you can feel sorry for that person while feeling worse for the person that had the bad thing done to them. This is all so self-evident. It's hard for me to unpack, but I wanted to use the word unpack.
Well, you know, we also always think of comedians being 100% free speech and stuff like that. And I don't know whether you followed this at the New Yorker Festival, but they had Steve Bannon booked to come in and do an interview, and all the big comedians said, I'm not going to be there if somebody interviews Steve Bannon. You know, and it wasn't a thing of, hey, we're giving an award to Steve Bannon, but it was a chance for somebody from the New Yorker to interview him, and who knows what direction that would have went into. But people like Judd Apatow and I'm trying to think of who, Patton Oswalt I know was in it, and even Jimmy Fallon, they all said, well, we won't perform. We won't come and do the panel. And I'm always surprised by that angle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel, my brother's a foreign correspondent, and he did a 4-year documentary on neo-Nazis, and he interviewed all the neo-Nazis in the world, from the Ernst Zundel all the way up to David Irving, and he didn't become a Nazi, you know, at all.
Right.
And so I think people go, you know, I certainly wouldn't be a Nazi by hearing this, but Americans, you know, other than me, Americans are just people that will believe whatever they hear, and I think that's nonsense, you know. I think that if there was a Nazi, a person could go watch him because it seems like an entertaining thing, you know. Just the same way you listen to a guy screaming on the corner of the street. You stop and listen to him.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, except for I learned from your show that Adam was in a cult for 3 years. So I guess some people are easily molded.
I just want to stress it was not a Nazi cult.
You know, these cult leaders, they have a good gig going.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all fall for the same trap, which is they start fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And if you just
not in that cult
you know, you have a good life.
Yeah.
People show up, they give you all your worldly
everything.
goods. You got all the money, and then you start having sex with the ladies. Then, drunk with power, you're not even gay. You start having sex with the men as well, and you know, and then people go, "Hey, I was watching Fred fuck your wife the other day, and I was thinking, any chance he's not Jesus?"
So are you still with the store?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So when you,
by the way, I'm sorry,
go
but I love stand-up comedy so much. Adam made the store great.
Yeah,
it was in real tough
yeah.
shape, and he really single-handedly turned it around. So
it was a group effort, but thank you, Norm.
Well, yeah, I would have thought the room would have applauded. But
no, they don't.
The East
I was just going to say, we're in New York. Well, I think the cellar is the closest.
Yeah.
And God, I love the guys at the stand. They do great work. Like I think that New York and L.A. I mean, it's always been New York and L.A. for them.
Right, they're different though.
Yeah, they're
as you always say.
But would you be in a position if somebody controversial said that was a big name, I want to go on?
Well, Roseanne was scheduled to come in last week, and she didn't show up. I know she's going through.
You're not helping.
Well,
yeah.
I think that I agree with a lot of what you guys have said about free speech, and I'm a strong believer in, especially in comedy. I mean, it seems like the last place that you can truly have some free speech, or should, and good God, it's comedy. I mean, people are trying to you're trying to make people laugh, and it's unfortunate when all the outrage is over that.
And this has happened for so long.
Yeah.
I remember when I was starting out, Andrew Dice Clay was a big thing. And I remember talking to Kinison because he didn't like being compared to Andrew. You know what I mean? And I thought he had the perfect line. He called Andrew a stag act. that was like the perfect description. But people would be women. Oh my God, I can't believe what he said. I said, and I go, well, he just said he fucked Mother Goose.
Right, yeah. So there's no one, Adam, you wouldn't put? Would you put Cosby up?
No, I personally wouldn't put Cosby up. Luckily, it's not I don't own the club, and luckily I don't have to make that call.
But if they put Cosby up, what would you do that night?
I would do nothing. I need to make a living.
If
they decide it's their club,
yeah.
I wouldn't.
That was the Nuremberg defense. I think.
By the way, doesn't Adam have one of the best speaking voices that you've ever? Just literally,
it's like Welsh.
Yes, it's amazing.
Richard Burton, Dylan Thomas.
Yeah, you should be doing poetry on stage.
Exactly.
I disagree, but thank you.
So, how did you guys come together with this show? How did this?
We've been friends for a long time. I met him at Tempe Improv, which was the best club in the country in my mind. I mean, I don't like theaters. I like comedy clubs, and he was the manager there, and then he moved to LA, and we were friends. And when I said at a talk show, I said it'd be fun to do. I like the Sidekick paradigm from when I was a kid little boy watching Johnny Carson. And it's funny, that you got this guy and then the sidekick sort of averse to the host and is a little scared of him. But it's all playful. Yeah. And I said, but what if you just got a guy and amplified that and just fucking abused him mercilessly? And so that's why I didn't want to get a comedian. I didn't want anybody that would blow back at me. And but an interesting thing happens because it's me, Adam, and the guest, and it's some sort of sociology experiment because within 10 minutes, Judge Judy is fucking calling him an idiot. You know what I mean? Like people, you got a bully and a bullied. Yeah. And a third person goes, I'll go with the bully.
Yeah. Well, that we learned in school, right? In like first grade, like even if you weren't a bully, it's better to be like, hey, that kid is fucking weird looking. That's true.
That is true.
That's the way that you get comfortable in life. So, well done, Adam. Just well done.
How do you get comfortable? Say that part again.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, like, even if you're not the bully, it's great to know someone else is being bullied because that gives you your own safety net.
Oh yeah, right. Right.
So
there's a trick stand-up comedians do. I was thinking of writing a book, How to Be a Stand-Up Comedian, no comedy necessary. Because I would go around at clubs, you know, and I go, that guy looks familiar. Yeah, he was the bouncer last week, you know.
Yeah.
And they just watch and they learn the tricks. But one is this mob control. You know, I don't know a lot of the tricks. I wish I did, but like you'll take a guy in the front row, like this guy with the hat, you know, that fucking hat, and so everybody else in the fucking crowd goes, "Oh my God, I got a hat here too." So I don't want to be pointed out, so I'll fucking also jump on this guy, and it's just these little mob control techniques that these alleged stand-up comedians use.
Well, there are. I mean, occasionally you will meet the comedian who wasn't the funny guy in his neighborhood. You know what I mean? He's a guy who works real hard and probably would have made it in any business because he works real hard, but he just happened to have picked comedy.
Yes.
But you don't want to be stuck in this situation with that guy. You know what I mean? Because it's always about his prepared stuff.
That's different from being a funny person, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That you learn it, yeah. This is what I always thought about the Harvard Lampoon or the National Lampoon. When I was a boy, Mad Magazine we would read. I'm sure you did.
Yes.
Cracked and Sick and all those Mad Magazine types, and then move on to National Lampoon. And it's kind of sad to me that kids don't have that anymore. They have The Onion, but that's just the headline. But anyways, it was sort of the way you grew up, and I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
It's about being funny, naturally funny.
That when I went to Saturday Night Live, I got to meet some of these geniuses from my youth reading comedy. So it was Michael O'Donoghue, and there was Steve O'Donnell, and there was Jim Downey. And God damn, these guys were fucking geniuses. So, and it's because they went to Harvard, like Jim Downey, a very good friend of mine. He went to Harvard, and he took Russian literature, and he was so fucking smart. This guy, you know, so smart that he decided to learn Russian so he could understand the Russian literature better. So, 20 minutes later, he learned Russian. So then on his off time, and this is what I heard from all the guys there at the time, on off time, they go over to the Harvard Lampoon and scribble a story, and it was hysterical, and those guys, Conan was one of those guys. And then Harvard became a place where it was like, I'm going to go to Harvard to be a comedy writer.
Right.
And that's where...
Yeah.
That's where everything went off the tracks. Because when I first got to L.A., everybody in every writing room was a Harvard guy, and I remember telling my agent, I go, I can't talk to a fucking Harvard guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I got 8th grade education. What the fuck am I gonna say? I thought it'd be so funny I wouldn't be able to understand their jokes, and then I met them, and they're just rich. I didn't know that's the way it worked.
Yeah.
But they became professional, and they weren't funny, but they had studied it.
Right, they had the humor math down.
Humor math down, yeah. But I remember Tommy Lasorda telling me, he said, we can teach anything in baseball. We can teach, but one thing we can't teach is speed. And I feel that sometimes with comedy. Right. You can learn every trick, every haiku, but you're either funny or you're not.
Yeah.
You can't learn that.
And I always prefer people that are just, they can't do anything else but this,
And that's what these old guys, we had a guy on a sitcom once, and his name was Jerry Belson, and he was, you'll see his credit with Gary Marshall's on The Odd Couple. And he'd come in and he just pitched jokes. And then, everything's about story now. Well, what about the guy's got to have feelings for the girl? It's always love stories and everything. You go, because he had The Odd Couple. He goes, we had two guys. One was messy, one was neat. They needed to get laid. We had the Pigeon sisters upstairs. So, but he said that everybody thought he was crazy. Like literally, if you said you were a comedy writer, people were like, "What the fuck? That doesn't exist."
Yeah.
You know. Now it's a what are you gonna? You know, is someone gonna be a lawyer, a doctor, a comedy writer?
Right.
You know.
Because all those jobs lead to producing, and that's what the Harvard kids are thinking about. Is like I can have 2 or 3 of these shows going, and I can be incredibly rich.
Sure.
And you're like, yeah, but what?
And I'm sure you've been in comedy rooms many times. The head writer is never the funniest writer. He's the political guy that can talk to the network, and naturally, actual comedy writers by nature are isolates and not very good socially, so they don't rise up to make the money, but they tell the jokes that the rich guys use.
Well, the entire time on SNL, you were pretty much a contrarian. You didn't seem like you were playing the political game very well at NBC. Like when people would say don't do OJ jokes, you'd give them 3 or 4 that night.
I did what Lorne Michaels told me to do. Lorne Michaels was my boss, and Lorne Michaels hired me, and I would never do anything that Lorne didn't say. There were people that I was very naive, and there were people hanging around the hallways in blue suits. I thought they were pages. Turned out they were super powerful people. But they wouldn't introduce themselves, so they go like, and everything. You need to tell me something straight out. I don't know nuance. I have dog whistles for racism.
Yes,
you got to straight out tell me, you're a racist. You need to use a whistle. And even whistles I don't hear well. Anyways, so but they would tell me, you guys should lighten up, maybe on the OJ joke, and I go, thanks. Can you get me a cup of coffee? Because I thought they were pages.
Right.
I didn't know. So, but Lauren was my boss, and anything that Lauren said, I did. I did that with all my bosses. They own the cameras, and I'm not stupid enough to think that I should be allowed to do anything on television, or anything or anywhere. People always like to ask comedians, like, is there anything off limits? And I always think that most things are off limits. At least for me, most things are off limits.
Until you can find that really funny thing about it that everybody would enjoy, because there are topics that are so off limits, and then I see somebody come up with something, and I go, well, that's brilliant. You know what I mean?
Right.
You say, oh, there could be a cancer joke, but then sometimes you see somebody pulls off a cancer joke that a guy with cancer is going, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
You nailed it.
Right.
But it has to be that joke. You have to be that good at it. And
it's often not a joke about cancer. It's often a joke about
the experience of
anything. It could be anything. It could be a joke about pride, or it could be a joke about shame. It just happens to have cancer in it, But that's what's so hard is people ask you to defend these offensive jokes, and usually the offensive jokes are fucking the worst joke you've ever heard.
Right? Yeah.
So
they missed.
Yeah. You don't really want to.
Well, you brought that up after the first guy does it. Everybody thinks, let's go there. That happened, I think, with Kinison, where he was doing, religious material, but people didn't realize his background was amazingly, religious, and he found spots that everybody could go, oh, that's really, really funny, because he knew what the hell he was talking about.
That's really true.
Yeah.
And I remember, and the agenda of the joke was being funny, which I think has to be the first thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, his religious stuff is the funniest stuff because it's not about, making fun of evangelists.
Right. But it was also, I always thought his stuff was like Jesus having to put up with us.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That was
always the funniest part of that joke, that he would be screaming at us. And I could fucking totally get that.
Yeah, of course.
I can't imagine how frustrating it must have been.
And the lepers, or the blind coming in to be healed, and he's like,
Can I have a moment to myself?
Yeah,
Everybody was bothering him wherever he went. How did you get the guests for this Netflix show that you have? Because it's a pretty amazing group of people that you're able to pull together.
Yeah. Strangely, I became friends with Ted Sarandos. There's only, I don't have that many friends.
Uh-huh.
And Ted was real nice to me, and we shared a lot of interests and stuff. And he wanted me to do something. And I wrote a book, and he read the book. What guy reads any book? But anyways, he liked it, and I was so blown away by that he took the time. And then he said I was his favorite comic. And I said, how about you give me $20 million?
We know you got it.
Exactly.
We read the papers.
But turns out he's also a businessman. But so he wanted me to do something, maybe make that book into a movie. And we were trying to figure out what I could do, because I can't do much. And then Letterman came in for his own show and said Norm should do a talk show, And then I said, well, Letterman knows everything. I should go with him. And but it's a talk show. Letterman's been of such help to me because he knows what I can do and what I can't, And so he gave me so much great advice for this show. And he even said, like he said, I'm not giving you advice on how to be a great interviewer because you'll never be able to do that. But so he goes, a lot of this advice is going to be completely counter to what a broadcaster or an interview such as yourself should do. And he said, just make it a conversation. And
it's the most casual thing I've ever seen on TV. You guys come walking out together.
Yeah.
You offer a beverage. You kind of start the show halfway through. So it really is. It seems like it's everything that I see on TV, especially with talk shows, is so overly rehearsed and done. It's very, very tight.
Right.
But yours has enough breathing room that something could happen. Doesn't always happen, but it could happen.
Right, it could.
Yeah.
Lori Jo, I don't know where Lori Jo is, but she was kind of the brains behind the idea of the show, and I've been working with her for 20 years or so, and she was saying, like, every time you do a talk show, the people always ask the same thing. They go, except for my father. Something just occurred to me. The first time I ever did Letterman, the other guy, it was me and a guy that made potato chips that looked like presidents. Like one looked like Richard Nixon, sort of. Not that much. Looked more like a potato chip. But anyways, my mother was like, oh, how proud she was of me. And she goes, oh, your dad wants that. And my dad's like, did you get to meet that guy with the chips? But anyways, what I was going to say was, what was I going to say? Lori Jo. Oh, no, that Lori Jo said, you know what everybody asks you all the time, and I'm sure you've heard this, is what goes on in the commercials. What does Letterman talk to you about? And so she said, we should have that show, but also the show behind the show. So, we don't have commercials, but people need to have breathing room. So we say we'll take a break, and then we just tape that, and then
it's so.
And I almost got Spade because Spade is the guy I really wanted to get, and so he told me a story during the break, and I said, "Okay, we're back. Tell that story." And then he almost did, but there's something inside him that's canny enough to have not fallen for it.
You know what? One of my favorite moments was is you were talking about Letterman. Do you ever hop up? And he said he couldn't because of nerves, and you brought up nerves. And then you told an amusing thing about Jay, how comfortable Jay Leno is, and you saw such joy in Dave's eyes laughing about Jay that there's still something between those two guys, because that's been the big strange divorce of our whole lives.
It sure has. And, I wanted to get Dave and Jay together for the show, and almost did it, but didn't turn out that way. But hopefully in season 2, we'll get Jay.
Well, you could see that it's,
together.
there's something there, particularly as you get older. You're like, who gives a shit anymore? You know what I mean?
Exactly,
like, I've
right.
seen that happen so many times with people in my family who weren't talking.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they're older and they're like, I don't even, fuck it. You know what I mean?
Right. Old man.
Yeah.
It's like, there's that trope about, like, as in country songs stuff, the old man at the end of the bar, and he's been there 30 years, still thinking about that lady. And at some point you go, probably the booze, too.
Yeah.
Because when I meet old men, I go, nobody goes, I never met an old man go, think you're still thinking about Ruth. It's like, they're thinking about their fucking knee and shit.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I think those guys, and I think Leno kind of understood it immediately. He doesn't take it seriously at all.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know. It seems like the first time you ever saw him now with his car show, he seems happier than he was 30 years of having the biggest, late night show.
Yeah, he doesn't see things as, like, I remember once during a commercial, he's like, hey, Norm, I want to meet you. This guy's some guy in the front. Yeah, the guy sells hot dogs in Minneapolis. I'm like, oh, that's nice. He goes, Norm's a comedian. But it really is like that to him.
Yeah.
It's just two guys that do different things. And he's also got a thing that's really funny that it's like practical, but supra practical, where like he'll go, yeah. Like one time we're you sit there and you watch the band who's there, and he's just stomping his foot like this, and he goes, yeah, buy one of those CDs. And I go, yeah, sure, I bought CDs. Yeah. He goes, yeah, it's not like, you just turn the radio on, you're free music. And then one day, one time I decided to jog to get in shape, and I was talking to him and his wife, and yeah, it's not really, yeah, the tiger's chasing you, the dog is chasing you, yeah, run, but he goes, like my swimming pool, I swim to one end of the end. Yeah, swim to the And his wife's like, yeah, Jay, the only time he ever gets in the swimming pool is to rake the leaves out.
Yeah. Well, he always bragged about not spending his salary, his nice salary. I'm just like, fucking spend it, Jay. It's yours.
God almighty.
What are you worried about?
It's strange.
You're not going to run out of money, dude. Spend some of it. You also said with this show that you wanted to have Robert Blake on.
That's my dream guest. Yeah, we had a producer that fucked it up. We had a producer that we almost had him. He was saying how he only did the classy shows.
Yeah.
And I said we were on. This guy pretends he can get anybody. This producer. We go, just keep him on, keep talking. And then this moron of a producer, he goes, I gotta go now, Robert. I'll phone you tomorrow. I gotta take my wife to dinner. They wasn't making a joke.
Yeah,
but
that was it.
Idiotic thing to
yeah,
say.
I get it. Set up. Now, what is it about?
I like that Robert Blake's. This is what I like most about Robert Blake is his alibi. He's like, how could I have been the guy to shoot her? I was. Everybody saw me. I was getting my gun. That worked as an alibi.
That worked.
I always loved that alibi.
Now, were you a fan of his as an actor, or?
Yeah. It really made me understand O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Because when I was on Saturday Night Live, there was some black staff members. They'd say they thought O.J. was innocent. I go, really? Yeah. Like all that blood evidence? You sure it's not just because, he's a black guy and you're a black guy and police have been treating black guys bad? Is that what it is? Because I can understand that. No, we think he's innocent. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of strange. But then when when Robert Blake went up, I love Beretta.
Yeah.
And I want him to get up.
Yeah, you want to?
And after that, I was like, "Oh, I get it. Sure,
yeah, sure, yeah.
Of course, if Robert Blake had been in prison, I would have been rioting."
And people forget Mickey. You know, when he was on the Little Rascals, Mickey was the greatest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch In Cold Blood.
Yeah.
After,
Yeah. So is that now? Who is like somebody that you're dying to get on the show? Somebody...
We try to get OJ, and he's I guess he's represented by his lawyer in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so the guy phones him, and the lawyer's like, "Oh yeah, he'll do it. Sure, absolutely." And I'm like, "Wow, that's super great." And then he phones back. He goes, "Yes, are you the Norm Macdonald?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then he said, OJ said that you were particularly rough on him. There's a moment of OJ is one of the funniest things. They got him on. I wish I could remember the Chris Myers. I think it was Chris Myers on ESPN, and he had the first interview with OJ that was an hour long, and he asked him about the entire timeline, and then right at the end. He goes, "Thanks, O.J. Simpson." O.J.'s like, "Yeah, thanks for all the football questions." He thought it was going to be like...
I was doing radio the day that the trial was coming back, and we just randomly called 7 different continents, and every continent knew the story and was waiting. We would call like a Ramada Inn in some place, and we would say, is he guilty
the
or
trial?
Innocent? Yeah,
right.
the trial. The day that they said the verdict was coming in. And we asked the people, do you think he's guilty or innocent? And if any country had any color to them whatsoever, innocent. And if it was a white country, Iceland, like, no, he's very guilty. But China, like, no, I don't think he did it. You know what I mean? And it was so fascinating to me. We really, that was like the beginning, I think, of white people being shocked of, maybe we don't get everything all the time.
That people always go like Fox News, is it racist or is it? Here's why I think Fox News is racist, maybe. They hire a guy to be their expert on all criminal, if any crime happens. They bring in their expert, Mark Furman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy's only known for one thing.
Yeah.
They may as well be Mark Furman, racist. They may as well just say that may as well be his.
Yeah.
When they describe people, I saw Bill Maher one time, and it was Richard Belzer. And you can just tell them how you want to be described. And it said, Richard Belzer, conspiracy theorist. And I was like, everyone? Like don't you lose your cred after a while? If you're like,
well, he's written books. Belzer has written books that go very deeply, and I've never heard him say, I don't know this. I got to really just believe the official word on this one. Never.
I think he went with the Mortsaw kind of career move.
Yes. Do you ever get concerned when you hear like, oh, we should have Robert Blake on the show? Does you ever think, oh shit, no?
I had to call Robert once. I had to try and get him on there too. I was very excited for that. Yeah, we all tried. It was a full court press, but I was excited about that episode. Actually, I would have loved to seen those two together.
Because he was always a great interviewer.
Yeah,
he's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, he did Carson constantly, and he had the unlit cigarette all the time.
There you go. Let me tell you about the men in the suits.
Yeah, he was such an expert on any topic.
Yeah,
when he was on every single topic.
I was disappointed when he didn't show up, but we, silver lining, we got Fred Stoller that day.
Is there somebody?
It was one of my favorite episodes, actually.
Is there somebody out there for you that you would think, oh, they would be perfect
for me? But we don't.
Smiths,
it doesn't
right?
mesh. Yeah, I love Morrissey, but I don't even know. Not Morrissey. Noel Gallagher. I think he's the funniest guy. He's just so charismatic.
Oh, is he not a musician?
Yeah, he's a musician. Oh, and Iggy Pop. I
I
think
love
you
Iggy
would love
Pop,
Iggy
yeah.
Pop.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think
Well,
that would be.
yeah,
great.
like
I'll
Iggy.
tell you this Spade episode was incredibly
Oh, that's good.
funny.
Thank you for
Incredibly
saying that.
funny.
What I liked about the Spade episode is it kind of got he captured what we were trying to get in the show, which was the show and the show behind the show at the same time. And I thought really only two people that are the embodiment of that. One is Spade and one's Marty Short, where nobody knows that show business is more complete bullshit than Spade.
Right. But they both love it so much. They love the shit out of it.
It's so in
Yeah.
show business.
Exactly.
So it's a funny dynamic because usually the person that has contempt for show business is like Letterman or something. That just cordons himself off in a compound somewhere. But Spade's on every red carpet. He took me to these fucking bars. I don't know how people have the I'm just always tired.
Yes.
And he's like, let's go. We'll go to a bar. I just did this one night with him. We go to a bar, and then he's like, come on, come with me. And you butt in to the bar.
Yeah.
You know? And everyone's like, and people go, get out of the way. These guys were on the TV. And you're like, So then you're in this bar, you're fucking all close to there's a guy half a foot from you.
Yeah.
And then Spade goes, let's go. And you're like, what? And then you go to another place, and then 8 places later, nothing has been accomplished, and I'm so tired. But he said it's all about being seen, all about that stuff, you know. It's funny because I was trying to do the math because I've been to 6 Hollywood parties in my life, and I got 2 jobs. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So then part of me said, what if I'd done 6,000? Because this is what happens. People don't know you're fucking alive and shit, right? And so I did this one time after I did a show. I said, I'm going to take a year off. I take a year off. No one assumes you took a year off show business. They assume that you got kicked out of show business.
Right.
And you have to start all over again. And so I said, God damn, I'm going to start going to parties and, get a third of the time because people next day they go, hey, man, you know who we should get? That fucking guy that fell into the swimming pool. Or whatever. But I just I wouldn't be able to write, and I write a lot. That's why I'm not very good, as you can tell, socially. I stutter and I'm not too good. But
so you literally
most time I'm alone writing.
But do you can't go into that party and kind of turn on the Norm stage act? You can't suddenly be that guy. Yeah,
I can do it, but it's exhausting. It's
right.
like
It's like doing a 4-hour set.
It's like when Jesus was touched by the lepers. He'd lose some of his power. I don't like comparing myself to Jesus, but if everybody's going to do it.
Is there a goal that you had that you never got a chance to reach? Is there something that you said, oh, I really...
In show business?
In show business, something that you'd hope that you would have gotten a chance to
Well, I mean, I would love to start now, in show business, because when I began, I was always like, I never wanted to do anything but stand-up comedy. And I said, I want to do stand-up comedy and then become a big stand-up comedy star and only do that. But it quickly became evident that you can't make enough money. So, you advance for a while and then somebody says, hey, what about this? You know how you're really good at stand-up. What about if you do something you're terrible at? And we'll pay you 10 times as much.
Yeah.
And you'll act and you'll fall in love with the girl. And then I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then so what I told Ted Sarandis this. I said, you've really done something good by giving $20 million to these comedians, Chappelle and a couple others. And because it's made, it's taken this, what's always been considered a vulgar art stand-up, and it's made a person can go, I want to be a stand-up, just like a person could say, I want to be a novelist or I want to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a stand-up. That's all I want to be. And that's what I wished maybe I had done, but I didn't have the guts to. I had a kid and I had to feed. But nowadays, I would certainly advise stand-ups to just aim at that.
It's really rare. I mean, it's a very short list of guys that can draw big just from doing stand-up. I mean, I think Carlin was that guy, and Brian Regan today is that guy where his audience shows up for him, and without have ever seen him, do a sitcom or a movie.
Isn't
or
that funny? Like, they always ask lists. They always have lists they love listing stand-up comedians.
Mm-hmm.
And who's the funniest? Every once in a while, the funniest man in the world. And you go, but he's been around for years,
right?
But anyways, in these lists, somehow, clearly the best comic in the world is Brian Regan, without question. Sure. And you don't need a comedian to say that. You need just anyone that's ever watched him to say that, And yet I never see him on those lists.
No, it is, and it's because of the people who write those lists aren't exactly people that care about stand-up comedy.
Unfortunately, it's not. There's some guy in the Times named Zinnemann. I don't know if you know him, but he seems to know a little about stand-up comedy. But it would be nice if I know stand-up comedy is a very, very new art form, if you want to call it an art form. I don't think it is an art personally, but it's great. I think what Ted did, what Ted Sarandos did specifically in getting a whole bunch of money to Chappelle.
If you don't think it's art, what do you think it is?
Well, I think it's craft, because the only reason I say it's not art is because art allows for interpretation, right? But if you do stand-up comedy, you can't have people interpreting it differently. You can't have this guy laughing at this part, this guy laughing over here, this guy laughing. You know what I mean? You can have different layers of laughter. Right. Your job is to say it and then make a noise, right? And then say something else and then make another noise. And that's craft, obviously. That's craft. Where I guess it can ascend into art is subject matter. I guess that would be the only, if you can reveal something.
What about for you, Adam? You feel the same way? It's not art, or? I
think it's a little blurred. I could see both sides. Yeah, I think that there's art to it, but I understand a lot of what Norm just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, art is, I guess, like a person who takes a very simple idea and explores that idea to its which I feel the best stand-ups do. That's an intellectual exercise. Take something simple and make it incredibly complicated and look at all the minutiae. Art, I feel, is to take something incredibly complicated and reduce it to a line. And I think that's how I would define art. And so that's pretty hard to do in stand-up. People have done it. Not for their whole acts, but people.
Yeah, just every once in a while catch that thing that is just.
Catch that truth.
Yeah, that truth that everybody immediately changes. You know what I mean? Immediately we'll be able to go, oh, I thought I felt that way about it.
That's the amazing
I now
part.
feel this way
about
it. And then you'll hear that being kind of taken and working into. I remember when Louis did the thing of saying, I hate my kid. Like the first time I heard that, it was shocking.
Yeah.
And then I heard like
You hear it a lot now,
you
right?
hear newscasters saying it. My kid's a dick, and everyone laughs. Kinison would give him a sandwich.
Yeah.
That thing started to just move. Not even other comics stealing it, but politicians.
Yeah.
And then you would go, okay, so everyone's moved over.
So it's cool that that person, even though they got stolen. It's like that with impressions sometimes. Like, people would Dana did the impression of Carson. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And then people would go, I did not know that. You go, well, you're really stealing that from Dana. Like,
That's when
You
you
didn't
have a
notice
great
it.
impressionist. He cracks that thing, but then everybody else starts at that point.
Yes.
So they're like,
when I was a kid, nobody could do Bob Hope.
yes, yeah,
Right? No,
yeah.
now everybody can do it.
But with I remember with Dana, you just have people starting with not can that.
Yeah.
And you're like, he doesn't even talk that way. That's
I
Dana
know.
finding a funny place to go with that.
I was so shocked because I remember Reagan was the president, and I was like, the vice president is nobody's going to be able to do him. He has nothing. And so, Dana just made it up from scratch. It's so funny.
You're really enjoying doing this show, though. This is, you think, something you want to do for a while, right?
I would love to do it forever, because Lori, who I work with, I don't know where she is, but she and I have always worked together, and she said, let's, because I was real good friends with Ted Sarandis, which was strange, and Dave, and they said, this is a chance to work with people that are friends, and then she said, let's just hire, everybody we hire will be our friends, because as everybody knows, whenever you work together, if there's one bad person, that person becomes the person that everyone else talks about. I don't know what it is about human nature.
Yeah.
You're like, motherfucking Marcy.
Well, I think Lori is trying to make sure all your other interviews don't get canceled. So
well, thank you,
we'll
Ron.
get you on The View.
This is so awesome. You're such a great interviewer. I always love watching you.
Thank you.
And
Norm Macdonald has a show, and like I said, even though all this controversial stuff is happening, this is just a funny, silly show that these guys do. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
It was really great.
yeah, thanks for putting that on.
Norm Macdonald, everybody, let him hear it. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. That was really great. Thank you so much, pal. Really, really nice.
The Bennington Show has ended. It's available every day on demand on the SiriusXM app and Sirius.com.